Hi, this is A1 Juncture. You're listening to Anthony Wan and my special guest, Shane Bryant. We're continuing on from the first episode about raising money for a local charity and the mammoth marathon task that Shane set himself. So in this episode, I'd like to continue on talking about endurance and this physical hurdles, how we can maybe inspire someone else to overcome those hurdles when they come up. So Shane,
hello.
Let's continue on about the endurance side of it. Running 26 miles is quite alien to me.
Yeah.
So let's start with that.
Okay, so I was talking about hurdles. Just to recap, the challenge that I set myself was actually 3 challenges rolled into one. National 3 Peaks, then coast to coast, following Hadrian's Wall, followed by the City of Culture Hull Marathon. So the first challenge that I did, I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I had my torch, I ran up Ben Nevis. There was absolutely no challenges there, really. It was far easier than I thought.
Really?
Yeah, totally shocked myself. I expected to do Ben Nevis in 6 hours. That was my aim, to do it in 6 hours, and I actually did it in 3 hours and 20 minutes. So, totally shocked myself with that one. And then it was straight in the car from there to...
It's not flat, is it? It's up and down.
Oh, yeah, straight up. Yeah, it's up and down.
Is it rocky as well, or just... was there a clear path up and down? Or?
It's pretty well pathed, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I could run most of it. The beginning of it's quite slippery. You could quite easily break your ankle coming down.
Right.
Coming down the last part of it, and and at the top was quite rocky as well. But
right.
More so when you get near the bottom, and if you've got your rhythm on coming from the top, and you get 3/4 of the way down, and all of a sudden you're hit by rocks, then especially if it's dark, you could easily break your ankles or break your legs. But luckily for me, it was dark going up, and it was light coming down, so I was okay. And then we went straight to Scarfell Pike. Now, that was where I had my first challenge at Scarfell Pike, because I was already really fatigued from doing Ben Nevis, but it was more of a lack of sleep why I felt fatigued. And I just thought, I'm just going to go do it anyway, and I set off, and then all of a sudden I just got this second wind, and I was able to just pick up pace, and I ran to the top of Scarfell Pike and all the way back down again, and I did that in 2 hours flat, which again totally shocked me, because I expected to do it in 4 hours.
Yeah, that's quite a difference to what you thought.
Yeah, I completely halved the challenge. I set out to do the National 3 Peaks in 14 hours, and in total I did it in 7 hours and 30 minutes. But the biggest challenge for me doing the National 3 Peaks was Snowdon, because it was hit by a storm, and I only had shorts and t-shirt on. So, we'll talk about endurance and stuff. It's okay being fit, but if your psychology isn't there, if you're not mentally prepared, you could be the fittest person in the world, but if you're not mentally prepared, then there's a good chance that you're not going to overcome something like that. But luckily for me, I'd done a lot of mental preparation. And I'm a very sort of disciplined person and strong-willed when I set my mind to something. Especially if somebody tells me that I can't do something, tell me that I can't do it and I'll do it.
It drives you nuts.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Which was one of the things that somebody said, "Oh, you won't do it,"
Right.
And I just thought, right, well, I'll show you that I can do it. So I had that driving me. I ran Snowdon in sideways rain, sideways wind, probably the worst weather that I've ever been in my life. there was professional climbers coming down with rucksacks on and, like tied to each other because the wind was so ferocious that there was people falling over. And even at one point, it lifted me off my feet and it threw me to the floor, the wind, and I had to cling to a rock. But I knew that I'd gone so far that if I'd stopped and tried coming down the way that I'd gone up, that would have been more dangerous than to just continue with a run and come down the proper way which was planned. So I had no choice other than to get to the peak really and then come down the proper way. But I was purely relying on myself to generate my body heat to keep me warm. So stopping wasn't an option. I had to keep going.
I mean, knowing the route like the back of your hand is crucial, really, I suppose.
You'd think so, but I didn't know the route at all. I didn't have a map or anything like that. I just thought, right, I'd seen that there was a few different routes to do, and I'd chosen the route, but I'd not studied the route in any way, shape or form. I just ran it and followed the path.
Just nuts.
Yeah, totally crazy, yeah. Talking about being scared, like, that was the first time in my life I've actually feared my life, feared losing my life.
Don't recommend this to anyone, really.
No, absolutely not. No, don't be stupid and go up Snowdon with shorts and t-shirt on in a storm.
Without knowing where to go.
Yeah, unless you want to be seriously judged by people. So, but, coming down that and getting to the bottom, I was greeted by my dad, who was in a fit of panic. He was...
He'd seen the weather coming in? Or?
He'd seen people being carried down off the mountain because it was so severe.
Right.
He'd seen, he said even the weather down at base was... It was shaking cars, it was... so, yeah, he was full of fear. He thought that I wasn't going to come back down. And even at some points I didn't think I was going to come back down, but I did. That took me about 4 or 5 hours to recuperate from that. It took me a good 3 hours to warm up. I had to sit in the car with the heating on full, with jumpers and like just layer up on layer trying to warm up, and I eventually got warm.
Wow.
So that was the first challenge, and then my second challenge was to run Hadrian's Wall, which was like literally the weekend after. So I'd only had a week to recover. And in that week I was at work.
So what your body, was it in a bad way after the first one then?
Oh yeah, totally destroyed, yeah. My legs was destroyed, my body,
They're just muscles are just not moving.
Yeah, because you're not just running, you're scrambling as well. You're trying to quickly scramble up rocks. You're not just running up a path. At some points I was climbing, so I was using muscles which I wouldn't normally use in day-to-day life. So yeah, I was aching a real lot.
Back to work straight away afterwards.
Yeah, back to work the next day. And I don't exactly have an easy job. I was on my feet for the rest of the week, which was probably, looking back at it, was probably a good thing because it kept my muscles moving. It kept me, it kept me going. But I definitely, reflecting back on it now, I definitely didn't give myself enough time to recover from that. So, like, when it came around to doing Hadrian's Wall, me and my dad, we drove up to Bowness and Solway, which was my starting point. Now, that should have been 28 miles, but there was a diversion, and it turned out to be something like 32 miles or something. And I, to be honest, I felt okay at the end of that. But we were stuck for somewhere to sleep. We finally found an old barn, and these people was quite happy for us to stay in the barn and have a shower and stuff. A lot of big spiders in there, but once you run 30 odd miles, the last thing on your mind is a couple of spiders. So yeah, slept like a baby that night, and then got up the next morning and ran across Northumberland.
Spiders is one of your fears, though, isn't it?
Not so much these days, but yeah, they used to be. Yeah, big spiders I don't like.
That's a subject that I'd like to get into, is like fears.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
So 32 miles is quite, that's just nuts again. It's
Yeah, I didn't do the 32 miles in one stint. You know, I broke it down into 3 separate runs.
Right.
And I refueled at the end of each run. So, like, I did like 10 miles and then had a sandwich, peanut butter sandwiches. Somebody told me about peanut butter sandwiches, so that's what I was living on. And then, you know, just by the end of the day, I was totally dependent on energy gels and, you know, high carbohydrate foods and stuff to just keep me going. And then day 2, you know, for me, I felt great, you know, day 2, setting off, and I was really looking forward to running across Northumberland because it was like really hilly, really beautiful, grassy, and, you know,
The weather was good.
the weather was spot on, but I didn't realise the impact that it was going to have on my body going up and down hills all day long. And what seemed, you know, what should have took me like, sorry, just rephrase that, what should have like normally taken me 4 hours to complete, it took me an entire day to complete, because you are literally walking at some point. So, you know, even though you're trying to run, you're still walking uphill because you can't physically run up it.
Right.
So I really felt like halfway through the day, my body was totally shot. And that's when I started to feel like I couldn't complete the challenge. But I did it, you know, I continued, I just persisted and continued through, pushed myself through it, and I completed day 2. And then we found a hostel, we slept in the hostel. And then day 3 came, and it just seemed like day 3, my body just needed to rest. But I still set out and did it, and, you know, I got to 16 miles from the end of completing the entire route, and my body shut down. My mind was still there, you know, I was still in the right frame of mind. I still knew that I was going to do it. I was absolutely determined to do it, but my body just physically would not let me. My legs gave in, and I collapsed on the roadside. And my dad had to help me to the car, and that was it. You know, that was the biggest challenge that I had to face out of the 3 challenges.
It's body breaking down and really not being able to overcome that.
Yeah. And it was just totally through not giving myself enough time to rest, really. You know, I'd already done like the equivalent of a marathon plus 3 peaks the weekend before that, and then the equivalent of a marathon the day before that day, and then again another marathon, and then the 3rd day, you know, it was just uphill. Like literally uphill from the start.
Is that the sort of thing that professional runners do? But that is what they do. They run marathon after marathon after marathon. But that is a full-time job.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication to be able to do that sort of thing. You know, that's not something that I've ever done in my life. So, you know, when I did these challenges, I was literally running the furthest I've ever run in my life. So to do those sort of distances for the first time in my life, day after day, you know, it really just took its toll on my body, really. And, you know, enough was enough. I had to stop. I had no choice.
Right, we're almost at the end of this session, but clearly, you know, we're at what do they call it? You know, where the story gets more interesting, but you have to cut off because the next thing is, you know, having to deal with those challenges and then failing, you know, that dealing with failing that challenge, and it's quite a big thing to pick yourself up, and that's what makes great people, I guess. Those people who fall down and pick themselves up.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
So that's going to be a great episode, really, because that helps everybody else.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, this is without going into the psychology of it. You know, like if I was to go into the psychology of like picking yourself up and then, you know, continuing. Yeah, that's where it starts being inspirational for other people.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, thanks for tuning in to A1 Juncture. This is going to get more interesting as we go along. So thanks again. Love you, brother.
Thank you, Tony.
But this is helpful to me and helpful to you to speak about it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, sayonara.